Auto Group Cubs pregame live.
Cubs look to extend their postseason win streak to 4 tonight as they take on the Mets in Game 1 of the National League Championship Series at Citi Field. John Lester gets the ball for the Northsiders to go up against the Dark Knight, Matt Harvey. First pitch comes your way just after 7 o'clock. We'll be here for the next hour getting you set for Cubs baseball. Hello, welcome in to Cubs pregame live presented by the Fields Auto Group. That's Todd Hollinsworth, my longtime partner. I'm David Kaplan. All right, a year ago at this time, when people mentioned the Cubs and Mets together, it was as potential trade partners. They've got middle infielders. They've got a lot of pitching. All of a sudden, the pitching and the middle infielders and the young bats all meeting.
Well, it certainly has been a fun year for both of these organizations. For our Cubs team, we've watched these bats develop. We've watched Joe Maddon take them and run to make it count, to get to all the way to the NLCS. Here we are, 70 years. You're 4 wins away from getting back to the World Series, and that's what it's all about. For the Mets and Terry Collins, the story is the different one. It's the one about young guns and young pitching, innings limits, and are we going to be able to start DeGrom in Game 2 or Game 3? You know, where all that goes, it's such a different balance. But again, you know, 2 veteran managers, guys that have been around this game for such a long time, have history together, going back to their days with the Angels, running these young teams. Here they are meeting in the NLCS.
All right, Cubs beat the Mets all 7 times they played in baseball 2015, but each team is exceptionally different than the last time they met on the field back on July the 2nd. For the Cubs, they were just 5 games over 500 after being swept by the Phillies on July 26th. And they went 45-19 to close it out. Well, that's just insane second-half play, Howie.
Well, it is, and I think most of the talk and most of the chatter, knowing that history is there. Hey, listen, we want to play the Mets because we won 7 of 7 against them. Most Cubs players and I will tell you that it really doesn't matter anymore. This Mets team is entirely different. Now, our Cubs, they averaged 7.4 runs per game in the second half. And we've talked about the improved offense, the homers, the young hitters, and everything else that's gone along with it. At the same time, this is where the New York Mets are so much different as well. They've actually averaged more runs than the Cubs, 5.1 runs per ball game, tops in the National League. So they've added key pieces. When we saw them the first time, we had a lot of Curtis Granderson conversation, maybe a little Daniel Murphy. They've got David Wright back. They've got d'Arnaud back. They've added Cespedes to the middle of this lineup. They've got Kadire there as well. They've got veteran hitters. They've got the ability to go yard as well.
All right, as for the Metropolitans, they were just 3 games over 500 at the July 31st trade deadline. They bring in Yoenis Cespedes. They get David Wright back from injury, Travis d'Arnaud, and they go 37-22 the rest of the way.
Well, as I just said, I mean, that really was the story. The pitching was not the issue, never was. The ability to score runs was their problem, and they started scoring runs consistently. The pitching got better. They continued to attack the strike zone. That's really what impresses me about the Mets. These young guns, they attack the strike zone, but the hitters, they've gotten better. Cespedes, no doubt about it, has made so many of these hitters better by taking pressure off them. 17 home runs in 57 ball games with the Mets, all by himself. That's right. And then you factor in Conforto and the young guys that have come along as well to go along with the Murphys. They went out and acquired Juan Uribe, and they went out and got a Kelly Johnson. So they've added. They do have a very similar mix in that clubhouse where they've got some veterans that aren't necessarily in primary roles, but are in that role of leadership.
Leaving names out of it, so not the Cubs or the Mets, but if I told you you could have unbelievable young pitching or unbelievable hitters, which path would you choose?
I take the hitting path. To me, I believe that I can develop pitching. I can go get velocity in a lot of different ways. Now, again, I'm just not taking anything away from the Mets. It's certainly coveted, and many around the game covet it and want to get their hands on it. But for me, what the Cubs have been able to do this year really does not happen at all in baseball. You talk about developing a young hitter or 2 young hitters in a lineup, that might happen, but to start the conversation at 4, that never happens.
All right, for more on tonight's contest, let's go to Citi Field. That's where our Kelly Crow is standing by with more on tonight's matchup. Kelly?
Good evening, gentlemen. Well, one thing is for certain, you're going to see a lot of extra layers on these players tonight, and all of them will be needed because it is chilly, it is windy here in New York City, and actually the temperatures for game time supposed to start in the 40s and drop from there. Not exactly ideal for the head cold Joe Maddon is battling right now, but as the temperatures drop, the stakes rise, and the manager still expects to see the same demeanor from his group that he really has all season season long, and the message on this big stage here in the Big Apple remains the same as it was day one of spring training. Do simple better.
Our guys are in a good place right now. If you've watched this play, you're not going to see any really big surprises over the next 7 days, or if it takes that long. We're going to just play the typical kind of game that we play, and I really try to emphasize that. Just go play. Don't do anything differently, and then if we execute better, we'll win the game.
Jon Lester takes the ball in game one with just 4 wins now, standing between the Cubs in their first trip to the World Series since 1945. And that's exactly why Lester said he came to Chicago to win. He's 1-0 in 2 starts against the Mets this season, but knows this is a very different looking lineup than the one he last faced on July 1st. So another prominent postseason start for this prized lefty who wants his teammates to recognize what a big deal it is to be here and yet stay hungry for what is left to be accomplished.
It is a big deal. I mean, we're one of 4 teams, still going. So, or one of 3 teams, 3 other teams. I mean, that's pretty special. I mean, we're in playoffs. It's what you play for. And like I said, every year you come in first day of spring training, your manager sits there and addresses the team, and your goal is to win the World Series. And we're one step away from doing that. With that being said, you as a player and competitor, and we all know the atmosphere is going to be there, the adrenaline and the competitiveness as far as the other team's going to be there. I keep going back to what I've said before. You try to make it as a normal start. You try to prepare like I would for a June 15 start against the Mets at home, in Wrigley. So. For me, that works. I mean, that's just what makes me tick.
And as expected, it will be Javier Baez backing up Lester at shortstop. Of course, Addison Russell out for the entire series with the left hamstring injury. Added in his place on the NLCS roster is Quentin Berry, a pinch running specialist, if you will. And given the fact that it's likely runs will come at a premium in this series, he could be a really nice add-on for the Cubs. One other note, the Mets announced their Game 2 starter. It will indeed be Noah Syndergaard, which I think came as a surprise to many given the fact that he pitched in relief of Game 5 against the Dodgers just a couple days ago. But he says he's ready, and so are we. We are set for the NLCS here at Citi Field. Now back to you guys in that nice warm studio of yours.
All right, let's take a look at today's pitching matchup, brought to you by the great people at Apt Electronics, Appliances, and more. As Kelly mentioned, Jon Lester gets the start for the Cubs. They'll go up against the Dark Knight, Matt Harvey, who went 13-8 in the regular season. Got the win in Game 3 against the Dodgers. Todd, a game like this, exactly why you signed Jon Lester.
Well, listen, 91 innings of postseason experience, 2.66 ERA. There you go. That's the track record. That's exactly what we're talking about. You're absolutely right. Gets the ball in a big game against a reworked Mets lineup. It's going to be imperative that he works to both corners. You're going to see the fastball. You're going to see the cutter. You're going to see that changeup and that slider as well. All 4 pitches are going to be vital today. This is a very aggressive Mets lineup at times. They game plan very well, and they stick to that script. So, again, that's what Jon's going to have to pick up on. A lot of right-handers in that lineup for the Mets.
Would you say that these Mets are what you call shovelers?
I would. They're very good fastball hitters down in the zone. I did. That's what they do. I call them shovelers. They like that ball down. And again, that's we're going to talk about this a little bit later in the show, but it's a very good point. Jon Lester is going to have to be able to use the entire strike zone today. We talk about it a lot with Jon. Keeping that ball down in the zone, being able to use the 2-seam fastball, the 4-seam fastball away to get in under right-handers' hands with that slider, that cutter underneath, even down in the zone. He is going to have to pitch up. Doesn't always have to be effectively, but it has to be for effect, meaning he has to change the eye level.
They got to think he'll go up there.
They at least have to be able to respect it, and if he gets a few calls early in the ballgame, that will certainly help. But most of these guys, from Yoenis Cespedes to David Wright to Darno, these guys do hit the low fastball particularly well.
All right, let's talk about Jon Lester in St. Louis. We were there. He pitched well enough. It was a 1-run game that he had allowed into the 8th inning. He ends up, putting a guy on, and he gave up that solo home run, and then that run came in on the Strop home run. But he had a good outing.
Well, he did, and maybe it's where you're at the ball game. I mean, I guess that's the one thing that I think back to, correlating that to that start and the one prior to, which wasn't actually in a Cubs uniform. Talking about the postseason, it was with the Oakland A's going up against the Royals. Same inning. Very interesting. I'm wondering if Joe manages it that way. I don't know how it's exactly going to play itself out, but it is late in the ball game. It is in that 8th inning where he made a few mistakes out over the plate. It was on the corners, and if you even look at that box right there, you see exactly where he's at. He is working those corners, working off those lines, and that's where you want to see John Lester. When he's getting swings and misses and pitches like that right there, he will be effective. But at times, if he misses out over the plate, this Mets team is going to, as I said already, going to be aggressive. You will see them in a period of time start to swing early in the count. John is going to have to be on those corners and not making mistakes out over the plate.
All right, as for Matt Harvey, he made headlines earlier this season with all the talk of a 185 innings limit as he comes back from Tommy John surgery. His agent got involved in all of it. Scott Forrest, your thoughts?
Yeah, it was a messy time. It's very interesting. It's a big start for Matt Harvey. I thought Game 3 was a big start for him, too, as well in the DS. And he got roughed up a little bit early in that ball game, but the Mets bats bailed him out, and he was actually pretty good. It's going to be interesting to see how long he goes today, but this guy's got elite stuff. He's a top-of-the-rotation type guy. You're going to see 98 from the first pitch on. He's going to be revving it. Even his changeup's at 89 and 90 miles an hour. Good secondary pitch. But here's the thing. This is what you want to know about Matt Harvey. And Cubs hitters, I'm sure, are very much aware of it as well. He attacks the strike zone. When he makes mistakes, he does not make mistakes off the corners like postseason baseball a lot of times will tell us pitchers want to. If they're going to work to the corners, they want to make mistakes off those corners away so that you're not making mistakes out over the plate. Matt Harvey will not. Matt Harvey continues to attack the strike zone. He does not want to walk hitters and make trouble for himself. So at times you watch him get into periods where he will attack the middle of the plate, even with that high velocity. If Cubs hitters are ready, even on this chilly night, they are going to get some pitches to hit.
Any concern at all? This is a guy, Harvey, has elite stuff.
Absolutely.
He had the innings controversy, and he was relying on his agent. And then he finally took the bull by the horns and said, I will pitch. I'll be there in the postseason. And then he doesn't show up to the first team workout for the postseason. And it was a mandatory. And he goes, I screwed up. And no one knew what story to believe. Any of that stuff concern you or nah, it's all in the past?
Oh, well, he could. I mean, again, that's really about their clubhouse and how he deals. I mean, that's the bottom line. It's not really important what you and I think or anybody else out in the real world thinks, what they think of him in that clubhouse. And this is a big start for Matt Harvey, and I'll put it to you that way just because DeGrom is in a different role now. DeGrom had ascended to the top of the rotation, came up big for them in the DS, became the guy in Game 5. They would love to be able to say that, much like we are doing, we got John Lester and Jake Arrieta going in Games 1 and 2, that they had DeGrom going in that same situation, but they don't because of what the DS did to them in the situation they found themselves in. Harvey is now put in a position to step up. His stock will skyrocket if Matt Harvey pitches like the Matt Harvey they've seen during the course of the year. Now, the question is, and it's a very good one, as you said, you know, he only pitches about 100, 100 pitches in an outing. I guess I should clarify that, is exactly how he goes about it. They manage him inside that game tight. So he hasn't gone 7 innings since early in August. So there's some vulnerability there. If the Cubs, which they're one of the best teams in all of baseball at getting those pitch counts up, making guys work for it, if you can get them to 100 pitches, say in the 4th or 5th inning, and you get into the belly of that Mets bullpen, I think there's going to be some damage.
An advantage. All right, we have plenty more coming your way. A Cubs pregame live presented by the Fields Auto Group. When we come back, we look at the starting lineups for both managers. And with Addison Russell out for the entire NLCS, Cubs will turn to Javier Baez to fill in at shortstop. Hopefully, Baez has the rookie postseason jitters behind him.
Cubs Pregame Live is presented by Fields Auto Group. Fields matters because you matter. See Fields first. FieldsAuto.com.
You see the difference at Fields. It starts from the top, goes all the way through the organization.
I'm Dan Fields of the Fields Auto Group. We simply treat people the way we want to be treated.
When you walk into Fields, you know it's so comfortable and the warmth of the service with everyone. I've never experienced that in a dealership.
It includes our free loaners, free car washes, and cafes. It's all part of our Fields Matters program.
There's no reason to look anywhere else. It's a perfect situation for us.
Fields matters because you matter.
There's really only one place where the carpets are always red and the stars are everywhere you look. There's no place like Hollywood. Hollywood Casino, Aurora, and Joliet.
The Cubs have won their first home elimination playoff game in 99 years. To commemorate this historic event, BigTimeBats.com is releasing the Cubs NLDS Champions full-size bat. The bat will feature the historic celebration collage with the final scores of each game in the series and the historic game stats. The bat is limited and can be yours for only $129.95. Call BigTimeBats.com now at 1-866-280-BATS.
It's that time of year. There's going to be a lot that scares you. Replacing your windows shouldn't be one of them.
Call 866 for Feltco.
Right now, get 2 windows for the price of 1, plus no money down and no interest until 2017.
Hurry, this treat and 2 windows for the price of 1 ends soon. Call now.
For quality windows, siding, and doors, call 866 for Feltco.
For a truly great sandwich, choose Mr. Submarine. With only the tastiest meats, cheeses, and garden-fresh veggies on Toronto bakery bread, dive into deliciousness with Mr. Submarine.
I'm Anthony Rizzo, and you're watching the home of Cubs baseball on CSN Chicago.
All right, that was awesome. Welcome back to Cubs Pregame Live, presented by the Fields Auto Group. That was Eddie Vedder on John Lester's rooftop after Tuesday's clinch win over the Cardinals. As the Pearl Jam singer and the Cubs players gathered to celebrate the win, it was a moment that veteran catcher David Ross was actually in awe of.
Listen, he picked up that guitar and strummed one note, and it got silent real quick. If that tells you anything, everybody was talking and hanging out, and he grabbed that guitar and played it one time, and then you could have heard a pin drop for the next 30 minutes. So, yeah, it's special. You don't get moments like that. I mean, this guy's playing stadiums and countries, you know what I mean? Like, and we get our own little personal concert, you kidding me? And get to talk to him and hang out with him. And you got to pinch yourself a lot of times when you're like hanging out with Eddie Vedder. Let's be honest. You're like, wait a minute, like, should I wake up here? You know, you're looking around like, is this real? Yeah, it's a special moment.
All right, Holly, you came up with the Los Angeles Dodgers. So, Tommy Lasorda, celebrities, it was probably an everyday occurrence.
It's the first time I met Eddie Vedder. I met him in Dodger Stadium, no doubt about it. I've got two baseballs at home, Dodger emblems on them, just autograph balls. You know, they're got to be almost 30 years old by now, have Eddie Vedder's signature on them. Right, that's the first. I actually met him in Tommy Lasorda's office the first time when he was just starting out with Pearl Jam. So it's interesting. It's kind of funny how this has all kind of come back around. But I'll say this, I think David Ross said it right. I hope the boys don't wake up. I mean, that would have been a surreal moment for, I think, any ball player. Like, we just won the DS. You know, we're having a pretty good run here. But Eddie Vedder is playing a song. You know, he's singing to us. He's
about our team.
Up on our team in this moment. I mean, you know, as a young person, I would have woken up right there. And I'm like, it's like David said, I hope nobody wakes up and realizes how good they are.
It's unbelievable. Back to the field. Addison Russell's hamstring injury means Javier Baez moves into the starting lineup at shortstop, and his plate appearances in the NLDS were what Cubs fans were hoping for when he was called up to the majors in 2014.
Yeah, it's great to see Javi Baez 4 for 5 already, so swinging that bat. Yeah, you know, we talk about the nerves of a young player. Didn't really show it now. Did have a mental mistake defensively, but I don't think that's going to happen again. But Javi is in a good spot right now. I don't think it's nearly as big a deal as everybody wants maybe it to be, only in that we're talking about Addison Russell, and that's kind of where I go. Is it a loss? Absolutely, because we lost Addison Russell. But Javi Baez has embraced this moment. That home run right there was huge. It was significant. It was the first fastball he saw. He barreled up. He went the other way. He was game planning right there. I think you're going to see Javi Baez capitalize on this opportunity in the NLCS.
You know, his defense in Game 3, he had where he slides over with 1 foot, and then he stands there and goes, "You got to be kidding me." You'll see his facial expression and another view that we have, and Rizzo can't come up with that. This view, and he cannot believe it. You were as mad as I've seen you in the green room when he did this.
Well, it's not the moments you want to have, not at this time. And I think the best way to say it is this. I'd love to see Javi show me 110 miles an hour from the hole. You know, with StatCast, we've got the ability to do that now. That's what I want to see. I want to see the cannon. That's just a real simple play. What Javi was adding to that was a little bit of flash, throwing on the run. Now, I'm not saying he can't do it. We've seen him do it a million times. But in the postseason, you don't ever want to give yourself a reason to say, that play right there is leading us down a path we can't get back from. And you don't want to wake anybody up. That's the other thing. So, that being said, that play right there, if he plants in the hole and makes a strong throw at about 109, 110 miles an hour across the diamond, we're talking about what a great arm he has. And yeah, he's a prototypical, he's just like Addison Russell. We're not missing a beat with this guy, and you're in a great spot. But when he makes that play right there and throws on the run and short hops the throw to Anthony Rizzo at first base, we all shake our head just a little bit.
All right, the Mets are also using a backup shortstop after losing Ruben Tejada in the NLDS with a broken leg. This was the big controversial play. It's a dirty slide. He suspended Chase Utley. Obviously, now that suspension will go into next year because they're out. But they've got to go back to Wilmer Flores, who they actually tried to trade.
Yeah, well, and that's an interesting story all about itself. Yeah, first of all, that's not a slide. I'll leave it alone. That's not in any way a slide by Chase Utley right there. Now, Tejada's going to miss. He's their defensive guy. Flores has got a little bit more thump on his bat, although he's a bit of a streaky hitter. Let me say this. He's played enough shortstop to where everybody in the Mets organization is fine with him being in that position. He's been out there just enough. And again, as I said, it's really, he makes the plays that he can get to. He doesn't have tremendous range. So that's it. He's more of an offensive shortstop, and they're still waiting for that offense to come along. With that being said, they're all very familiar with him. And if you think back to the Wilmer Flores getting traded story, he actually broke down on the field, thought he'd been traded mid-game.
Correct.
Found out that he didn't, and went on and had a couple heroic moments right after that with the Mets as well.
There's no crying in baseball.
Well, there's a little story there, right? So it is kind of an interesting, you know, little situation that we've got here playing out in the series is both teams lost their starting shortstop.
All right, let's look at the Cubs lineup brought to you by our great partners at Wrigleyville Sports. Here's what Joe Madden will turn in at home plate. Fowler in center, Schwarber in left, Bryant at third, Rizzo at first, Castro at second, Soler in right, Baez at short, Ross will catch, John Lester will get the ball. Joe going with the pitcher back in the 9-hole.
And that's okay. You know what? I want to see these guys get up on the fastball. Matt Harvey, you really don't want to mess around with the secondary pitches. The ability to battle and compete certainly is part of this. We talk about getting Harvey up to 100 pitches, but really pick any guy out in this lineup. Fowler, Schwarber, Bryant, Rizzo, these guys have all, at one time or another through the DS, had some moments, had some good offensive games. So I think everybody walks into this. The only thing that I would look at collectively is that we've had a few days off. If there's any sluggishness to our swings or to our approaches early in the ballgame, I don't think there would be. I have no reason to believe that there would, other than the fact that they haven't played since Tuesday.
All right, after not starting a Game 1 against the Cardinals, Jorge Soler has been playing like a 10-year veteran all-star. Guy looks really good. Made a huge throw to the plate to nail a base runner at home. He had the home run there, had a home run at Wrigley, got on base 9 consecutive times. That's an all-time Major League record in the postseason. He's just been filthy.
Well, Cap, what does this mean to you when I say that some players have the ability, like when you watch them play all season long and you look at them, all of a sudden they hit a hot stretch, and I say to you, doesn't it look like that player's almost playing in slow motion?
Yeah.
That's where he's at right now. He has slowed the game down in his mind. Things aren't racing right now. That's a great place to be when you're a player. As a matter of fact, that's what most players try to tell you, that we're constantly working towards slowing that game down in our mind. And Soler, for whatever reason, we saw it, you know, a couple different times during the year, but never consistently enough. All of a sudden we get to the postseason when you think that that mind would be revving and that everything would be going so much faster than it typically is because the lights are brighter, the stadium's packed, the attention's so much greater. He seems to be playing at a slower pace, even though he's not. He just appears that way. You look at his at-bats, they're controlled. He's taking close pitches. He's working towards his pitch in his spot, and then he's getting it done. So even defensively as well, by the way, he looks very good in right field, including that great throw that saved us a run.
All right, it's time time for Built for Business, presented by Comcast Business. We look at the numbers Yoenis Cespedes put up since he became a Met. Since being acquired by New York at the trade deadline, outfielder batted .287, 17 bombs, 44 RBIs, and an OPS outstanding of .942. Comcast Business, built for business. Was there some who were throwing his name, Ollie, that you were hearing as an MVP candidate? Because I heard a few.
Oh, absolutely. You know, the problem that you had is that he switched leagues. But when you throw out 66 hits and 35 of them go for extra bases, and then you apply that to where he went, I mean, there was a lot of people that were, well, he's going from Detroit, he's going to, New York. You know, if he hits, I don't know, 7, 10 homers, they should feel, they should be thrilled with that production. Got 17 homers.
Pretty good.
14 doubles, 4 triples. I mean, just the slug alone was just off the charts. I mean, the impact was such a surprise. It's not that he's not a great player. It's that he took it to another level. If he was a 5, he went to a 6. I mean, that's just it. And then you talk about what the lineup did with that production. I said this in Game 5 of the DS when they went up against the Dodgers, and everybody was saluting Daniel Murphy for having the huge game. Hits the home run against Greinke right there, his third in the series, goes 3 for 4, takes third base. His game seems to be elevating itself. The guy hitting behind him is Yoenis Cespedes, who went 0 for 4, struck out 3 times. But because of Cespedes' presence in that lineup, Murphy's getting better pitches to hit.
No question about it. Also, David Wright was out with spinal stenosis for a good portion of the season. He's another bat that they get back. He may not be the old David Wright, but it's still a presence.
Yeah, I think the bat slowed down just a little bit. But again, as you're looking at right there, here's the one thing that I know about David Wright, and I've seen it throughout his entire career. He handles the low ball as well as anybody, and he handles left-handed pitching as well as anybody. Loves to use the off-field. This guy is a pro's pro by definition. That's what anybody would tell you. What does he do with runners in scoring position? His first thought is, what am I going to do? I'm going to use the middle of the field. I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to drive in that run. He definitely has some power on secondary pitches. I don't think he's catching up to the fastball quite as well as he once did early in his career, but absolutely a threat in this lineup. Has to be respected. And again, keep that in mind if there's opportunities for him to drive in runs where his thoughts typically go the other way.
Here's the lineup Terry Collins will bring out to home plate for his Mets. Granderson leads off in right. Wright is at third. Murphy at second. Cespedes in left. Darno is catching. Kadire will play first. Flores at short. Lagares is in center. And the Dark Knight, Matt Harvey, will pitch.
Well, the two hottest hitters coming into this from the DS are Granderson and Murphy. Both had tremendous DSs. Now, Granderson, good approach, loves to hit the fastball, loves the ball down as well. And both had some numbers against lefties, so keep that in mind against John Lester. But I think that's an advantage for us. Their two hottest hitters happen to be left-handed. If John's executing and keeping the ball down, using the cutter away, commands the outside part of the plate, you should be able to hopefully get some good positive results going up against the two lefties. Hopefully they equal each other out on that. But to me, that's my concern. I really look at it. I kind of dismiss those two guys and look at the other guys in the lineup, the right-handed hitters, that concern me because they're very good low ball hitters. You got Kadire in there for the struggling Duda. Duda naturally would be in there. 27 homers on the season, but he's struggled and has been struggling against lefties of late. Kadire gets the start. He's another pro hitter.
All right, we have plenty more coming your way as we get you set for Game 1 of the NLCS. Two skippers of tonight's game have a long history. We'll discuss the impact Joe Madden and Terry Collins will have on this series when we return.
Nissan Rogue. With blind spot warning, a round view monitor, and intuitive all-wheel drive that knows just when to kick in. Choose the 2015 Rogue, just $194 per month, or get 0% APR for up to 60 months. Nissan, innovation that excites. Shop ChooseNissan.com.
See the full line of Frigidaire Professional products at Apt. Apt, pleasing people since 1936.
Still haven't tried FanDuel's one-week fantasy football leagues? Over 1 million fans have already won money. Choose a league. They start at $1. Pick your team. Done. Winners get paid the next day, and there's no season-long commitment. FanDuel pays out $75 million a week. Get off the sidelines and get some. Try FanDuel today. We'll match your first deposit up to $200. Love it or your money back, guaranteed. Go to FanDuel.com, enter promo code YARDAGE2. That's YARDAGE2.
One thing we can rely on in this house is U-verse high-speed internet.
Incredibly reliable.
And I'm changing my fantasy lineup as we speak.
U-verse high-speed internet has brought much-needed reliability to our lives.
With 99.9% reliability, it's one thing you can rely on. Get U-verse high-speed internet for $15 a month for 12 months with other qualifying service on one bill and a one-year term.
Whether you're driving 60 or 160, when one of these starts glowing, you pay attention. Too bad our bodies don't come with dashboard lights to avoid problems down the road.
Well, a 5-minute health-aware test from Edward Elmhurst Health can give you a heads up. They're a quick, easy way to assess your health status, identify risks, and help you steer clear of trouble ahead.
It's like an engine check for people.
Edward Elmhurst Health. Healthy driven.
We asked you to submit your celebration videos and photos from Tuesday's Cubs NLDS clincher over the Cardinals using the hashtag CSNWhatAGame on Twitter and Instagram. Thank you for all the submissions. There were so many great ones. We wanted to share the top few. Here's one from Jennifer Young holding up the W flag inside the park. Chris Furman and friends with the flag and the marquee behind them. Ethan Bardoff with the wide shot of the crowd gathered at Clark and Addison. Thank you to everyone for sharing their memories. We got a ton of them. Let's take a look at the two managers in this series. Joe Maddon and Terry Collins were both coaches on the Angels staff back in the 90s. Maddon served as Collins' bench coach in Anaheim. Joe just finished his 12th season as a big league manager. He's won 878 games. Collins has been the skipper for the Angels, Astros, and Mets, and is 12 games under 500 for his lengthy career. Take a look at the numbers, and they're two good baseball men.
Oh, absolutely. They're lifers by definition, and these guys, I give them so much credit. Joe and Terry both, they've now managed a very long period of time. But for me, I see this as a transition, and a lot of times what happens to managers is the inability to kind of evolve as the next generation pushes the game maybe in a different direction. The ability to connect to his team. I mean, think of when we sit here, we talk about Joe. I mean, Joe's been doing this a long time. The ability to take this group of guys, these young players, and got to get them moving in the right direction. They love him. They respect him. They want to play for him. On the flip side of it, we talk about Terry Collins. I mean, listen, it seems like every year his name comes up like he might be out of a job. I mean, it is unbelievable. You watch how this Mets team responds to him. They love him. They respect him. His voice is still heard in that clubhouse, and that's big for a team that deals with as much as it deals with in New York. Terry Collins has done a masterful job. Think about the Harvey situation there at the end of the year when you finally got your team into first place and you got to deal with that. He has just done a really, really good job with this group, and they respond to him equally as well.
All right, we have to take another timeout. When we come back, we'll look back at how the Cubs got to this point, and also visit CSNChicago.com's Cubs Insider, our friend Patrick Mooney. Cubs fans getting used to seeing Kyle Schwarber hitting tape measure home runs, but we've got some video of Schwarber that has to be seen to be believed.
You see the difference at Fields. It starts from the top, goes all the way through the organization.
I'm Dan Fields of the Fields Auto Group. We simply treat people the way we want to be treated.
When you walk into Fields, it's so comfortable, and the warmth of the service with everyone. I've never experienced that in a dealership.
It includes our free loaners, free car washes, and cafes. It's all part of our Fields Matters program.
There's no reason to look anywhere else. It's a perfect situation for us.
Fields matters because you matter.
The Cubs have won their first home elimination playoff game in 99 years. To commemorate this historic event, BigTimeBats.com is releasing the Cubs NLDS Champions full-size bat. The bat will feature the historic celebration collage with the final scores of each game in the series and the historic game stats. The bat is limited and can be yours for only $129.95. Call BigTimeBats.com now at 1-866-280-BATS.
You know the rules.
eggs and sausage, hotcakes and butter. Morning fare, right? Well, McDonald's has thrown away those rules and opened a new world of possibilities. Now you're free to start enjoying the breakfast you love anytime you wish.
No way.
Yes way. Introducing McDonald's new all-day breakfast menu. Once you changed how you ate breakfast. It's time to start changing when.
The Chicago Cubs are in the postseason, and Wrigleyville Sports is here to handle all of your postseason needs. Many playoff items in stock now, including caps, t-shirts, and jerseys, just like your Chicago Cubs wear on the field. Mission October has begun, so don't miss out. Supplies are limited. Free shipping available on qualifying orders. Order online now at WrigleyvilleSports.com and pick up in our Bensonville office or at our store across from Wrigley Field.
Hey, is that it? I think that's it.
Keep it going. Keep it going. Fantastic. All right. Oh, gosh. All right. I'm keeping up. I'm keeping up, Rusty. I'm keeping up. What's going on? JJ, nice to meet you.
What's going on?
Not too much. Just trying to keep up. Keep it going, Rusty.
Maybe asking yourself, why are we showing you video of a high school show choir? Look at the right side of your screen. Big dude in the light-colored suit, purple shirt, pink tie. Just hit a home run onto the right field video board at Wrigley. Yep. Now, that's not Holly. That's Kyle Schwarber in the Purple Pizzazz Show Choir from Middletown High School. That was awesome. Wow. Welcome back.
Together now.
Huh?
I'm going to try and keep it together now.
Wow. Cap and Holly with you. Everything brought to you by the great people at the Fields Auto Group. Back in the 2014 draft, Cubs picked Kyle Schwarber with the 4th overall pick. Actually had him #1 on their board. 6 selections later, the Mets took an outfielder by the name of Michael Conforto. Now both are on the postseason roster. Holly, you were drafted in '91, didn't make it to the majors till 4 years later. That was typical. Things have really changed.
Well, I mean, again, if you can hit, you can hit. I mean, that's just it. I mean, you look at you laughing at me. Back in the day, I'm going to try to defend it as best I can. Well, I mean, there was a bit more of a script back then, and I think it applies to everybody from managers to players to coaches that, you kind of had to do your, pay your dues in the minor leagues. These guys today, man, if you hit, you get pushed. That's just it. I remember, Cap, I'll give you a quick story. In AA, I had a great first half. Thought I was on my way to AAA that year. They're like, Holly, you're in AA, and you're going to play here all year. I don't care that you hit 300 in the first half with 17 bombs. You're going to finish the season in AA. That's just not the story now. If these guys come in, they're ready. They play showcases. These guys play a lot more competitive baseball than I ever played or anybody else, even in my generation, ever did. These guys are polished and ready. I feel like this almost leads us into the conversation of why do these guys play so well in the postseason, and so many young players are doing that now. Conforto, great hitter, played on Team USA with Chris Bryant, Kyle Schwarber, these guys, I mean, are fresh out of school. They just come in ready to hit. And the one thing that I do notice about this generation of hitter that's so different than, years past is that they're ready to hit velocity. I mean, 97, 98 miles an hour, not a big deal to these guys.
All right. Cubs fans have enjoyed a very special season that has brought us a little bit of everything from opening day through the NLDS, and hopefully many more magical memories to be made.
We saw Dexter tap the Rockies, and the Yips show up in Chicago. Uh-oh. The Wrigley walk-offs began.
Ground ball, base hit, Cubs win!
One by one, the can't-miss kids arrived. There was a first time for everything.
How about that?
It took a calendar month to see Lester locked in. Then came an amazing 1-2 punch.
They've gone back-to-back.
We saw the bizarre in extras.
Cubs win!
And a 17-0 rocking in Cleveland. We saw the emergence of an ace.
We're looking to create some magic.
And Simon saw a sweep of the Mets.
Arrieta puts one to deep left. Gone! How about that?
Jake powered the Cubs in the crosstown.
And he hits light tower power type home run.
followed by classic midsummer power.
I wasn't really expecting it.
The Ejax era abruptly ended.
Schwarber's done it again!
And the Schwarber game came to be.
Cole Hamels, he is back!
It was a sweep and a no-no, followed by a breakout performance.
Ball game over! Oh, baby, Chris Bryant!
As August arrived, we saw the Cubs catch fire and an escape artist in the sweep of the champs.
Called strike three! Hector Houdini!
We saw an all-star benched.
And will lined and caught by Russell.
With a new era underway.
This is the play of the year.
Rizzo tackled the tarp while Miggy finished off the crew. And Pedro Strop let it loose.
Wow. Double fist pump.
KB walked off again.
What a way to end the homestand.
And we saw history in Hollywood.
And the pitch. Swing and a miss, a no-hitter. Jake Arrieta has just pitched a no-hitter at Dodger Stadium.
We saw a message in St. Louis.
Addison Russell makes it 8-0.
We saw the slip during the double dip.
Schwarber just ate it around first base.
And a complete performance worthy of a mint.
Called strike three, Cubs win.
The Castro roller coaster got back on track while the new Cubs shortstop thrilled Clark and Addison.
Diving play by Russell. Oh my goodness, what a play that'll end the ball game.
We saw another milestone for the ace.
Jake Arrieta, a 20-game winner.
We saw sweet swinging Billy Williams surpassed.
Chris Bryant with number 26, a new Cubs single-season rookie record.
And We Are Good became a celebration description.
I've been waiting for it for a number of years.
The Schwarbomb flew down by the river.
Get out the tape measure. Long gone.
And we saw Fowler follow suit.
And the Cubs lead 4-0.
The Buccos turned to beanball as cooler heads would not prevail.
Seventh inning fireworks here at PNC.
And the Cy Young to be finished the deed.
Cubs win. Jake Arrieta pitches a shutout. And the Cubs start to celebrate on the infield here at PNC Park. Goodbye, Pittsburgh. Hello, St. Louis.
We saw St. Louis strike first and Madden's small ball strike back.
And Garcia throws it away.
Jorge Soler arrived in style.
Welcome to the postseason, senor.
We saw Russell's leather larceny en route to a split in the Lou.
Oh, what a scene it is. We welcome you from Wrigley Field, Chicago.
We saw an aerial assault at the confines.
That is a major league record. 6 home runs in a postseason game.
And the Cards pushed to the brink.
The Cubs win Game 3.
We saw the backup come to the forefront.
Javier Baez, a 3-run home run.
And Rizzo reestablished the lead.
She's gone.
We saw the round tripper over the Schwarber.
This ball is long gone.
Mercy. And then history in the making.
And the 0-2. Swing and a miss. Cubs win. Cubs win. Cubs win. I wish all of you could be right here at this moment.
We beat the Cardinals. I mean, these are like the older brothers who've been kicking sand in our face for 100 years.
One thing is clear.
How far will it go?
Wait till next year might finally be here. Patrick Mooney joins us now from Citi Field in New York. Cap and Holly with you here on the pregame show. Moons, let's talk about the pitching matchup tonight. The Dark Knight, Matt Harvey, who was good against the Cubs, but all the controversy about the innings limits as the season wore on. What do you expect from him tonight?
Yeah, Cap, that's a great question. It's going to be one of the biggest issues for this game. How much does Matt Harvey have left in the tank? You know, obviously Scott Boras created a firestorm in New York with his comments. And Matt Harvey has said, it's the last thing he wants to talk about now. And I do think he senses the moment here. He knows how important it is, and not just for this team right now, but his legacy and how he's viewed throughout baseball. And whether that's fair or not, and there could be hundreds of millions of dollars at stake here when you look at how good he's been and how good he's projected to be if he can stay healthy. And so, yeah, it'll be an issue of whether or not the Cubs can drive his pitch count up, maybe knock him out of the game early and turn it into a bullpen game. And that's probably an area, if you look at this Mets roster, is probably a weakness.
Well, Patrick, let's expound on that. Talk a little offensive approach. What are the boys telling you? What have they been telling you over the last few days going up against these power arms?
Well, I think if you're the Cubs, you have a ton of confidence just knowing the teams that you've beaten to get here. They made Jarrett Cole look like a fifth starter. I think he went 4 innings in that wild card game, maybe 5. The St. Louis Cardinals, though they had dealt with some injuries, I'm pretty sure they were the best pitching staff in baseball during the regular season, and the Cubs made that look easy. I think it'll be different here. This still plays like a pitcher's park. It's absolutely freezing here, so maybe it's not quite hitter weather, but we'll see if they can get to Matt Harvey early.
Let's talk about John Lester and David Ross. If you live in the Twitterverse like Holly and you and I do, during the ball game, you see people saying, really, why does Ross have to catch John Lester? Because you have 2 guys that aren't great offensive threats in the 8 and 9 hole, no matter where Lester's batting. What is your take on that? Because Theo Jed and Joe Madden bristle at that. They think David Ross is a huge factor for this club on the field and off.
Yeah, without a doubt, Cap. I'd start behind the plate, just the fact that he's this kind of security blanket comfort factor for John Lester. And, the issues he's had with throwing over to first base and controlling the running game, I think David Ross is a huge part of trying to minimize those issues, varying times to home plate, things like that. And he really has become this $5 million insurance policy against John Lester's $155 million contract. And if you talk to someone like Anthony Rizzo, he says David Ross is our secret weapon, an absolutely necessary guy in that clubhouse. And I do think that you've seen the way guys have bought into Joe Madden's methods, that they've had to play unselfish and certain guys accepting diminished, reduced roles. And I think David Ross has been a glue guy in that clubhouse throughout the season, and is, he's not the reason, but he's a reason why they won 97 games during the regular season and are in the NLCS right now.
Patrick, give us a sense of this team right now. What's the mood like? What's the emotions? These guys have been off for a few days.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think these guys, they're not going to change now. It got them this far. I think they're pretty loose. They're upbeat, and obviously they're playing on what's a great stage here in New York.
Moons, as we let you go, what's the vibe from the New York side of things? I read the Daily News, the New York Post today, and they all have their creative, funny little headlines, all of that. But what is the vibe from the fan base? Do they feel as they're underdogs, or they feel like, no, we can take out the Cubs easy?
I think everyone knows that the Cubs went 7-0 against the Mets during the regular season, but this is a completely different team with Cespedes and some of the other moves they made this summer. And I think what you're seeing is kind of the Mets fan base coming back to life, in a similar way with the Cubs. They followed along with a rebuild. They're waiting for prospects to come up and guys to take jumps to the next level, and certainly up and down this Mets lineup, particularly with their pitching staff. Actually, they've made that leap, and Theo Epstein said it yesterday that he's normally used to coming into New York, enemy territory, and seeing the Yankee hats, and now you kind of see more orange and blue, those Mets hats coming back.
Appreciate the knowledge, Moon. Stay warm out there, buddy. We'll be nice and warm in the green room. See you soon.
Right. Take care, guys.
All right, earlier this afternoon, the Mets announced that Noah Syndergaard will start in tomorrow night's Game 2. He'll be opposed by Cubs ace Jake Arrieta. All right, we were at Wrigley earlier this year. Syndergaard made his major league debut. What have you seen from him this season?
Well, the velocity hasn't gone anywhere. As a matter of fact, I think the average fastball velocity's probably ticked up just a little bit more times than not. I think we saw 99. I think he even touched 100 in the one he threw at Dodger Stadium. He was pitching out of the bullpen. This guy pitches great at home. I mean, his fastball command, that's really what it comes down to for me, has been even better at the end than it has been at the beginning. I talked to a lot of people over there at the Mets, and they say that's the one thing that's been so surprising about our season is the fact that Harvey, DeGrom, Syndergaard, our power arms, these guys, their fastball location is as good as it's been all season long right now. Really rare to see. Guys usually start to fatigue, they start to tire, they start to wear and tear, and when that happens, you start to see fastballs sometimes out over the plate or really bad misses. Nobody has shown any signs of wear and tear yet.
All right, after a final timeout, we'll get Holly's keys to tonight's game. Game 1 of the National League Championship Series against the New York Mets. And if either team's starting pitcher gets in trouble, which club has the advantage when it comes to the bullpen? We'll discuss that when Cubs Pregame Live rolls on.
This Cubs injury report is brought to you by ATI Physical Therapy. Taking physical therapy to a higher level. Ask your doctor about ATI Physical Therapy. Get there.
Discover the things that really matter to you when buying a car. Discover the best of everything Hyundai at Canals Hyundai. A spectacular selection, an inviting showroom and friendly staff that make shopping a pleasure. Unbeatable Canals Hyundai savings, a streamlined sales process, great car care service, America's best warranty, Hyundai Assurance, award-winning customer satisfaction. Discover Canals Hyundai, Route 41, Lake Bluff.
One thing we can rely on in this house is U-verse high-speed internet.
Incredibly reliable. And I'm changing my fantasy lineup as we speak.
U-verse high-speed internet has brought much-needed reliability to our lives.
With 99.9% reliability, it's one thing you can rely on. Get U-verse high-speed internet for $15 a month for 12 months with other qualifying service on one bill and a one-year term.
See the full line of Frigidaire Professional products at Apt. Apt, pleasing people since 1936.
Some say it's Lou Malnati's Pizza that made Chicago famous. But most can't say anything at all. It's just that good. Lou Malnati's Pizzeria.
The Nissan Rogue. With blind spot warning, a round view monitor, and intuitive all-wheel drive that knows just when to kick in. Choose the 2015 Rogue, just $194 per month, or get 0% APR for up to 60 months. Nissan, innovation that excites. Shop ChooseNissan.com.
There you go, Starlin Castro, ready to go. He'll be at second base tonight, entering the visiting clubhouse. There's Joe Madden, Davey Martinez, and the rest of the Cubs as they head into Citi Field. Cubs and the Mets, Game 1 of the National League Championship Series. Welcome back to Cubs Pregame Live, brought to you by the Fields Auto Group. Let's talk bullpens, Holly. I read all the New York papers online this morning, and they give the advantage in the bullpen to the Cubs. Your thoughts?
Oh, I totally agree with that. I mean, the one thing that the Mets have is familiar. There's no doubt about it. He's had a fantastic season. He's a lockdown guy. He went 2 innings to Game 5 of the NLCS. He's their big guy. They may have some issues getting to him. That is actually where I see one of the weak spots in the Mets. For us, we all know what's happened here. Cahill, Travis Wood, Justin Grimm, Fernando Rodney, Clayton Richard, Pedro Strop, Hector Rondon. That is your bullpen. These guys have been pitching in relief. I'm kind of past the stories now, even, Cap. I know that everybody's like, oh, hey, how come these guys are working out in the bullpen? I mean, listen, Trevor Cahill's been here long enough to be considered reliable. We watched him get huge outs for us late in ball games. The same could be obviously said about Travis Wood, Justin Grimm. We know what these guys bring to the table. Joe Madden knows how to use them. It is an advantage, and I think that we've got it.
All right, let's also take a look at your keys. We got to pick key performers. I'm getting back into it tonight. Your keys.
All right, here we go. Four corners. What I'm talking about is really the strike zone. John Lester in that attack, that approach tonight, he's going to have to use all four corners. A lot of times we talk about John Lester, we talk about fastball efficiency, fastball location at the bottom half of the zone. Now, obviously that's important as well because that's what John's bread and butter is. But for me, his ability to use all four corners is going to be vital, and here's why. I know that the Mets hitters are very good low fastball hitters, and if he falls into a pattern and he's only pitching down in one half or one quadrant of the strike zone, they will make the adjustment. This team has really learned in the second half how to make adjustments on the fly, to stick to that script, and at times make adjustments to that script throughout a baseball game. You've seen it top to bottom in this lineup. So again, John Lester using all four corners. Number 2, here it is, 5, 6, or 100. And really what I'm talking about here is Matt Harvey. Now, Matt Harvey is good for about 100 pitches. He's not going to wander past that. Terry Collins won't let that happen. At the same time, 5 or 6. I look at the Cubs and think, listen, we could get him up to 100 pitches in 5, maybe even less, or 6. But I guess my point is this. That should be the goal. When we're watching this baseball game tonight, if these Cubs hitters can get Matt Harvey out of there after 6, and oh, by the way, it's been about 8 starts since he's gone past that and even gone 7, that bullpen advantage that I was just talking about becomes ours, and I really think there's a hole there. And the better the Cubs do at this, if they keep that game close and get Harvey out of there early, I really think there's going to be a chance to score some runs in that Mets bullpen and slug. And I guess the point on this is, you hit a bunch of home runs in the DS, and we saw you hit 2 home runs in the wild card game. I just don't get the sense or the feel. You're at Citi Field. The temperature's a little bit colder that we're going to be popping 3 home runs or 4 home runs in this ball game tonight. So for me, really, it's about the slug. It can exist in other ways. And what I would really like to talk about here is out of the box. Guys going into the gaps. There are big gaps in Citi Field. You can push it down, push the throttle down, turn doubles into triples, singles into doubles if you're thinking that way out of the box. So for me, that's what it's going to be about. Maybe we catch a homer, maybe we catch a second one, but I'd like to see a couple doubles, triples in the gaps and guys really push it on the bases.
All right, time to pick our key performers. You're up like 3 or 4 on me now, sir.
3 or 4,000. I'm going to go with Dexter Fowler tonight. I have a good feeling about him. I really do believe that homers might not be as big a part of this. He is the let's go guy. Dexter Fowler's my pick. I'm
going to go with Starlin Castro. I think Starlin's very good against a hard thrower. I think Starlin has a big night tonight. Thank you for watching Cubs Pregame Live, presented by the Fields Auto Group. Don't forget, as soon as the final out's in, you switch back here. Holly and I will break it all down. We'll go back to Citi Field with Kelly, all coming up. Post-game reaction as well. Go Cubs. We'll see you on the other side.
You see the difference at Fields. It starts from the top, goes all the way through the organization.
I'm Dan Fields of the Fields Auto Group. We simply treat people the way we want to be treated.
When you walk into Fields, you know it's so comfortable and the warmth of the service with everyone. I've never experienced that in a dealership.
It includes our free loaners, free car washes, and cafes. It's all part of our Fields Matters program.
There's no reason to look anywhere else. It's a perfect situation for us.
Fields matters because you matter.
The Chicago Cubs are in the postseason, and Wrigleyville Sports is here to handle all of your postseason needs. Many playoff items in stock now, including caps, t-shirts, and jerseys, just like your Chicago Cubs wear on the field. Mission October has begun, so don't miss out. Supplies are limited. Free shipping available on qualifying orders. Order online now at WrigleyvilleSports.com and pick up in our Bensonville office or at our store across from Wrigley Field.
At White Castle, the crave is now anything, anytime. It's fresh cracked eggs for dinner, jalapeno cheese sliders for breakfast, and Belgian waffles whenever. The crave is more than breakfast all day and all night. It's anything all day and all night. Because the crave knows no limits. It flips the expected, never follows a curfew, and sure as heck doesn't have a 9 to 5. The crave is anything on the menu, anytime we're open. White Castle, the crave is a powerful thing. All your favorite Belgian waffles are back for good, day and night.
It's that time of year. There's going to be a lot that scares you. Replacing your windows shouldn't be one of them.
Call 866 for Feldco.
Right now, get 2 windows for the price of 1, plus no money down and no interest until 2017.
Hurry, this treat and 2 windows for the price of 1 ends soon. Call now.
For quality windows, siding, and doors, call 866 for Feldco.
The best things in life are free, but you can give them to the birds and bees.
There's really only one place where the carpets are always red and the stars are everywhere you look. There's no place like Hollywood.